Welcome to Backpage Blues. We are here for a special edition because there is an awful lot to discuss. It's a transfer window and we're very excited about it. Joining me is Charlie the Hurricane Skillen from the Mail Online, and it's a pleasure to welcome back from his dose of the 2 bob bits, Jack Davis. How are you feeling?
Bit delicate, mate, but a lot better, thank you.
Excellent. Charlie, I'm going to come to you first because we have some big news regarding Alexandre Pato, I believe.
Yeah, well, I mean, the last Backpage Blues we recorded, you asked me, and you know, it was on. Pato was talking to our Brazilian contingent players like Willian. It's now moved even further in the last kind of 24 hours. He's actually agreed a 3-year deal at Chelsea.
3 years is a long.
So that's written in stone, is it?
Well, no, I mean
I saw the personal terms.
He's agreed personal terms with the club. He's actually taking a pay cut to come to Chelsea. It's now up to the 2 clubs to agree a fee. It's likely to be in the region of 7 million. Corinthians wanted 12, but it's going to be about 7.
Right, so this to me sounds like an awful lot of money and a very long contract for a player who has a checkered, there's no doubt that he has a talent, but he also has a very checkered injury record. Is this a gamble?
Yeah, it's a huge gamble. You know, checkered is putting it lightly for me.
Is this a Falcao waiting to happen?
Well,
all over again?
Well, you know, I think, I mean, Falcao obviously had talent, insane talent, and Pato does as well. But it's a reaction to Pato being touted everywhere, which he has been, and Chelsea needing a striker. The one stipulation Hiddink has for this January is getting a striker, because he doesn't believe that Remy is a solution for the rest of the season, be it through an injury record, which is again poor, or actually this might necessitate Remy leaving the club towards the end of the transfer window. Spartak Moscow are the latest club to be interested in him.
He's such a good player. That's what I don't understand with Remy. Why does manager after manager seem to not rate him to the level that everyone else, like all the fans, seem to love him?
I think the fans love him because he comes on and scores goals, and that's what fans want to see. I'd certainly like to, I've said it on here before, I'd like to explore playing Remy more, maybe playing 2 up top.
Yeah.
But I do think that A, Remy's injury record, B, Remy's kind of overall contribution.
As a starter,
he's not
as effective as a sub.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's a big thing. Falcao as well. His fitness is going to be assessed over the coming days, and whether that is something Chelsea take forward, or they're basically Chelsea are looking at ways that they can terminate that loan. It's very, very tricky with the contract they entered. But
Don't you think it's weird? Like, we need a striker, and of all the strikers in world football, and we're still Chelsea Football Club, we're a big team.
Still the champions.
Yeah. And like Pato, who's like, a name that we have to claw from the recesses of our minds. Like, he was a big name.
Yeah, 2006 he burst onto the scene, didn't he? It's a decade ago.
He kind of replaced Shevchenko, didn't he?
Yeah.
And it's like, and we're hearing people like, Charlie Austin and, Vardy and people like that. Why are we messing about with this Brazilian dude, man?
I think it's a fair point, but I do think Pato has the potential to be a good move. But I'd agree, watching Charlie Austin go to Southampton for £4 million,
£4 million quid, proven goal scorer,
a homegrown player, someone who scored 18 Premier League goals in his
for a team that went down.
For a team that went down in his season in the top flight, and has scored goals wherever he's been.
I think
for £4 million for me,
Chelsea.
That's got to be worth a gamble for Chelsea.
I couldn't agree more. The thing that I think is very important to acknowledge about a player like Charlie Austin as well, it's not only the 18 goals. I think scoring 18 goals is a fabulous stat, and well played to him. But it's the nature of the goals. It's all types of goals.
Yeah.
It's scoring goals that you're not entitled to score. Do you remember the goal he scored at Stamford Bridge? The back heel.
Yeah.
Shot came in and he kind of readjusted his body brilliantly and flicked it into the opposite corner.
It's the sort of natural striker.
Exactly.
The wheel grew up with, slightly gone out of fashion, but I think fans love to see that.
Exactly.
And it's such a breath of fresh air.
Because it's not only about pinging him in from 30 yards, is it?
No.
That's pinging him in from 30 yards.
He can do that as well.
Oh yeah, he's got the minerals for that as well.
Yeah.
But it's about scoring goals that you're not entitled to. If you ping it in and it's going into the top corner at 80 miles an hour, no keeper saving it, I know, but you can't do that every week. Scoring goals that you're not entitled to do is the hallmark of a fabulous centre forward.
Yeah.
And Charlie Austin is that. And our homegrown issue. We've missed a trick here, haven't we?
We've massively missed a trick, massively.
Well,
for £4 million.
Were Chelsea involved? Did you hear at the Mail that Chelsea were involved in it?
No, I mean, not really. Chelsea were obviously aware of him, and obviously he probably came up in conversations, but Chelsea were never seriously in the running.
Because that deal sort of went under the radar.
It
did. You know,
Southampton.
The ones that were heavily linked was clubs like Newcastle, West Ham. I mean, I understand his wage demands were an issue at West Ham. Obviously,
he's on a lot of money, isn't he?
He is.
He's still on a lot less than you'd be on at Chelsea, though.
Probably, yeah. You know, according to David Gold, obviously the West Ham chairman,
100 grand, wasn't it?
100 grand, that's right.
Do you know what? They've got an enviable strike force, haven't they? When you think about it now, they've got Mana, they've got Shane Long,
they've got
and now this guy,
Graziano Pelle. Yeah, I mean, Southampton were obviously on the slide. You know, uncharacteristic for them, and I think Ronald Koeman's done really well to kind of address that, give it a bit of an upturn, and their last couple of results haven't been that bad. So
let's talk actually of Graziano Pelle being on Chelsea's radar. Would Pato's signing?
I think I don't see that one happening. The only other move that has been talked about this week is Ezequiel Lavezzi, obviously from PSG. His agents are actually talking to Chelsea this week. That's more likely to be a freebie in the summer because he's out of contract.
He's getting on a bit now, isn't
it could either be a freebie in the summer, or it could be a cut price deal. I mean, Pato's still got to get a work permit. I have a lot of faith that he will get that.
But he definitely, I think he scored about 10 goals, 9 or 10 goals in less than 30 games for Brazil. He's got a strong enough international record to get a work permit.
I mean, and without wishing to incriminate anyone, Chelsea always seem to have a fairly good way of getting past these sort of procedures. But I mean, Lavezzi's another interesting one. Again,
from a fan's whose position would he?
On the bench.
He's more of a winger, isn't he?
Yeah. I mean, he'd be a winger slash, winger sort of.
We've kind of got enough of that.
I can't see what he would bring to Chelsea that Chelsea doesn't currently have.
I don't. I'm not going to sit here and make an argument for him. I'm saying his agents are talking to Chelsea this week.
And Alex Teixeira, that's a name that keeps popping up.
Yeah,
still.
I mean, again, that's one the club are interested in. I can't really see it happening in January. I think
it's so much money, isn't it?
January, we're looking at. I'm pretty sure at this point it's going to be Pato.
Right. See, the thing is, I think it's very difficult to sign a player like Teixeira, who would cost such a lot of money.
Yep.
When you don't know who your manager's going to be.
That's right.
So I think we should probably find out who. Charlie, if you were living the dream, who would you want? This is nothing to do with his journalistic background or job. Right. Who would you like as a fan?
I said this the other day. I said it on here before. I'm getting so bored with the constant chopping and changing, the constant kind of new messiahs coming in. I think Mourinho was our one chance to kind of build a dynasty, and it kind of obviously didn't work.
That's the spirit.
Yeah, but I'm getting more and more pushed. This is complete fantasy, by the way.
Yeah, of course. I'm just interested in your opinion.
I'm getting more and more pushed to sort of give Mark Hughes a good crack.
Wow, I wasn't expecting that.
Well, because I strongly believe that Guardiola will be going to City.
And Hughes has done wonderful things at Stoke. He's changed the foundations of the club.
I've not really seen a club change so vastly under one man as Stoke has under Mark Hughes for quite a while.
Chelsea under Scolari.
Yeah, that wasn't too much fun. But I just think that this squad will be ripped apart in the summer.
Right.
Big time.
So if you had your way, Mark Hughes, Jack, if you were to have your way, who's your...
I would say Guardiola I would of course like, because he's a born winner, and I believe he'll win trophies wherever he goes. And as gutted as I was when Jose left, my reasoning was, well, if you lose someone like Jose, you need someone like Guardiola to come, as a replacement. However, I've got a slight more preference to Diego Simeone, just because he's a bit more of a fighter, a bit more of a character. There's something almost quite Chelsea about him. I think more so than I would say Guardiola, There's something almost, I guess, Mourinho-esque,
Yeah.
you could argue.
But I mean, arguably, that's what the board wanted to get away from, isn't it?
Yeah. Do you know what we should do?
That's what we like, isn't it? As fans, we
Yeah,
like,
I
we like
agree.
that stuff.
I think that we should talk to Becca. She seems to have her finger on the pulse when it comes to all things Spanish. Should we give her a Skype?
Yep.
Rebecca, thank you so much for joining us. Really, really pleased to have you on again. Right, Simeone to Chelsea. What are your thoughts?
Hey guys, first and foremost. Secondly, I mean, look, let's be honest. For me and for a lot of Chelsea fans, I think the man for us was Mourinho, but he has gone. We now need to move on. So respect everything he's done. He's obviously always going to be special to us. But from this point, the major thing, I think, maybe more so than who we actually get in, is the fans need to not do what we did last time. And I was as bad. So when times are hard, you can't go back to should never have sacked Mourinho, should never have done this. It's happened, move on.
Yeah, I agree.
So whoever comes in, I mean, to be honest, ideally, if I could have had anybody, it would have been Ancelotti. But again, that's another manager who, another one bites the dust. Simeone, it's actually very interesting at the moment because not only have we got the kind of transfer ban that Atleti are now facing, which people are saying, could make him want to come to the Premier League, I actually think it's going to do completely the opposite. People forget this Atleti side is his Atleti side. There are some young kids coming through who he is nurturing, essentially. He is going to want to bed them into the team. I personally don't think he'll leave. It would be great, but I don't see it happening for at least another season or so. Another kind of major reason for that is the language barrier. So we're seeing at the moment, Gary Neville is the perfect example. Whatever his kind of managerial credentials are, I'm not quite sure. However, a massive problem is he is talking to these Valencia players through an interpreter. Now, we don't know yet whether Gary Neville is a good or a bad manager. We don't know whether he's a man motivator. We know Simeone is a great manager, but part of that is his man motivational skills. Now, if he comes over to England at the moment, his English is not good enough to do that. Now, I know obviously we've got a very continental dressing room, but at the end of the day, to communicate to fans, to communicate to part of, some of the players, you're going to need to be speaking very good English. His assistant Burgos is the same. They are taking English lessons. Whether you can pick that up so quickly, they're not all Mourinho who can learn Italian in 6 months in your sabbatical and, go and win everything there is to win in Italy. So in terms of Simeone, I would love him, but I don't think necessarily it is actually the right time anymore in terms of for him, for the club, and looking at other managers around Europe with this language barrier, it's not necessarily going to be the best option.
Right, so do you feel like he'll stay in Madrid?
Personally, I think he will, yeah. I don't think he will leave.
Do you think that the fact that they can't sign any players and he's going to be impotent, isn't he, in the transfer market for a bit, is that enough of a reason for him to leave? Also, he's obviously got the Chelsea connections. He's obviously going to have a really good relationship with Costa, a really good relationship with Courtois. You don't think that I was perhaps being slightly optimistic, but was thinking that maybe the tide was turning and maybe he could be persuaded to jump across to England?
I mean, I completely agree with that school of thought, and at some point I think he will, because I think he'll outgrow Atleti. But, taking up your kind of point there with the money and the impotent in the transfer market, Atleti aren't Real Madrid. The transfer ban isn't actually going to impact them that much. In fact, it might actually help them, because there's no way now they will be able to let Griezmann go, because they won't be able to bring anybody in. So they never have the money, the big dollars to go and splash Real Madrid. Florentino will be crying himself to sleep. But in terms of Atleti and what they sign each summer, they aren't ones to go and spend 60, 70 million anyway. They've had to bring players through. They've had to get bargains. And now we're seeing players like, Thomas Partey, Carrasco, they are coming through. And Simeone has done that. He has kind of pick them out. So I think until he wins the Champions League, he'll want to see it through. But that being said, he is taking intensive English lessons, and I think at some point, at some point it's the natural progression that he will be coming to Chelsea. I think like you would look at maybe a Guardiola and a Man City and see the backroom staff and see the players and the team that they've assembled, and it's a natural progression for both Guardiola and City. I think Simeone is Chelsea's progression, absolutely. Whether it'll be this summer, I don't necessarily think so.
Right.
Who do you think? Yeah, you've sort of burst my balloon a bit there, Becca. But it's a very good point, and probably one that I didn't really take on board myself. You know, I didn't know that Simeone's English wasn't particularly up to scratch, and I do agree with you that you do need it. You know, sometimes you see. I mean, but saying that though, you know, the Tottenham manager.
Pochettino.
Yeah, he could be doing a Pochettino.
He couldn't even say his own name in English, let alone.
Do you know what I heard about that though?
I think he could. I think he chose not to.
Oh, really?
I heard that he didn't want to be trapped by the English press. He was very wary of the English media.
Yeah.
So in order to avoid any sort of potential issue, he was like, I can't speak English, so do it through a translator. So it's very generic questions, very short interviews.
Right.
You need to do that. So I heard. I don't have a clue.
Okay.
Does anyone know if that's true? If you know for a fact that's true, can you comment and let me know, because I find that very interesting.
I also heard that.
Really?
So Becca, if you think that Simeone maybe, you know, this is a season too early or something like that for him to come to the Bridge, in your opinion then, who's going to take over from Hiddink at the end of this season?
Oh, we've been through everybody, haven't we? This is the next problem for Chelsea. Who do you get? I mean, we're hearing, you know, now the Chile manager, hearing maybe Allegri, Conte. This is the mistake again. You're bringing in a foreign manager who isn't proven in the Premier League. We've done the same with strikers. You know, we've brought in somebody who may or may not be a success. We've got Pedro, who hasn't been a success at the moment. At the moment, we need people in terms of players and managers who are proven in the Premier League. Yeah. I'm not necessarily advocating Mark Hughes, although I do have a huge amount of sympathy for what happened to him at City. And, you know, at Stoke, he's proven that he can play maybe a different style of football when you bring in certain managers. I don't know if Spurs get top four, Pochettino isn't going to leave. He is another person I would maybe look at. But again, you know, we have massively narrowed ourselves in terms of who would want to come if you're a manager and you want long-term stability. Because, you know, Real Madrid can hire and fire whoever they want because they are Real Madrid. And as much as I'm not an advocate of the man, Benitez said, you're never going to turn them down. Would you turn Chelsea down? Yeah, you probably would, because at the end of the day, there are other clubs in Europe you can go to who, you know, one will probably be in the Champions League, and I doubt we will, to be quite honest. Two, you know, the way players are being brought in, I don't think the right players are being brought in. I think there's an awful lot going on with the board and behind the scenes. Managers aren't stupid, of course they're not, that's why they're managers. So they're going to be seeing all this. So again, it's hard to kind of pull names out of a hat, because we've pulled most of the names out of the hat, or we've been rejected by the other half.
Yeah. Becky, you mentioned the Chile manager, obviously, Sampaoli. He quit his post last night, actually, earlier this week. So he's had a falling out with the Chile FA, and he's now quit his post.
He sounds right up our
street. Yeah, I know, yeah. Definitely. I mean, he's famous for playing a kind of very adventurous, weird style of football. Becca, I mean, is that something you'd want to see at Chelsea?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I think everybody wants to see good football. I think people are lying if they say they don't. What I think people want to see more than good football is winning football. Yes. So I'm sure if you went out to North London, Arsenal and Spurs would tell you, oh yeah, we love the 5-4s, we love the 3-3s. Yeah, 3-3s don't win you titles. 1-0s, you know, 2-1s away from home, they do. So again, it's bringing in a manager who is willing to, I hate to use the phrase grind it out, because it doesn't make you, you know, we don't want to be a Louis van Gaal, but, you know, can he do that? Is he a manager that understands the Premier League enough? Again, I don't know, but it's another name.
It seems like we're looking for some sort of almost make-believe type character. It's like we want someone that's got lots of Premier League experience, but isn't a big enough name that would get, you know, attracted by another club. It seems tricky to get, you know, what we're after here, don't you think?
Chelsea would happily give Guardiola a blank check and say, make this happen. Unfortunately for Chelsea, that's not going to happen at this point. Chelsea's dream is done as far as Guardiola's concerned.
Yeah.
That means they've got these different options. I agree with Beck, and I said it here before. What we're hearing out of Simeone's camp is that he's not chomping at the bit to get the Chelsea job this summer. He's on pretty nice $6 million a year contract in Madrid. And
for the future.
And Becca's right. There's not very much to be gained from being a Chelsea manager at this point.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not a gamble that makes sense, really.
Oh, yeah, I see. Becca, just before we let you go, can I just ask you, what do you feel about the likely signing of Alexandre Pato?
Yeah, I mean, look, for me, I would love to say it's the best signing we're going to make. I would love to say it's going to save our season. To be honest, it's another player who, one, doesn't have Premier League experience. I'd like to point everybody down to the South Coast at 4 million Charlie Austin at this, moment. Yeah. Why did we not go there? Loic Remy never, ever gets a game, which, when he plays, he tends to score. Difficult to score in the 10 minutes he's given, granted. There are just so many players. We have so many of these, precocious players who can play anywhere across the front three, who are technically gifted, who are fantastic when you're winning 3-0 against Swansea or Sunderland at Stamford Bridge. Yeah. What I thought we needed was a proven Premier League, will kick you and not in the way Costa will, somebody who will stand up to defenders, an out-and-out striker who will make a difference and who will, we're 14th or 13th or where I've stopped looking. We are not anywhere near a Champions League place. Can you imagine somebody like Pato in the bottom half of the table? Because when things aren't going for you, and they are not going for us, players go missing, as we've seen. You don't necessarily get decisions, although, Everton fans right now will be saying all kinds of blue language at me. It's for me, not the best thing we've done. I think we have this awful habit of signing people that our rivals are looking like signing, and then the board think, oh wait, no, we can't possibly let Spurs have Salah or Liverpool have Pato. Let's go and get them instead. And it might have worked with Willian. I don't think it'll work here.
Yeah, I think you're in good company, Becca. Thank you so much for joining us. Really, really grateful. We'd love to hear your insights. So we will speak to you again next week, hopefully.
Brilliant, no worries.
Cheers, Becca.
Bye.
Right, cheers for that, Becca. Always a pleasure to see her. Right, I think the thing that we need to discuss now, because it's really on my mind, I'm beginning to get nervous about it, is the Arsenal game. Charlie, how are you feeling?
It's a huge game. People were asking me in the office today what I think. He said, you'll get a result at the Emirates, won't you? You'll get a result at the Emirates. And I'm like, yeah, I hope so. But I mean,
Do you think we will?
I hope so. No, I think that Chelsea will raise their game. I think we'll have a good support there. I think Hiddink is good at big games. We haven't seen the Hiddink in a really big game so far. I mean, Man United, but that was at Old Trafford, and he'd only been in the job for one game. So I think now he's got a bit more of an idea of what he wants to do. I'm quite hopeful, but I do think we have to bear in mind that Arsenal got Ozil coming back, they've got Sanchez coming back. Hopefully, Chelsea are in a position where they can play Eden Hazard.
Do you think he would start if he were fit?
I mean, for me, if someone's fit enough to be on the bench and fit enough to play, I'd rather see the best players start than be on the bench. Costa's a big doubt. Obviously, as we've talked about before.
He's done his shin, is he?
He has. He faces a kind of a race against time to be fit. The other player that could well be involved, I don't think in one moment he'll start, but Charlie Masonda, who has been training with the first team this week. He played very, very well against QPR in the under-21 game.
This is music to my ears, Charlie. Having a youth, a member of the academy wrapped around the first team is a dream come true, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, I've seen endless tweets that people want the youth to be more involved. Obviously, people were being excited by Loftus-Cheek. I think Kennedy's probably been one of the few success stories of the season for me.
Again, not given enough time.
Well, exactly. Yeah. I mean, for me, Kennedy's played well. Most of all the times he's come on.
Yeah.
But it definitely looks like Masonda is set to be involved in the matchday squad.
That's exciting, man.
Great news. Jack, how are you feeling about that game?
Mate, I am Optimistic as ever. I'm going to be in the I'm at Sky Sports fan zone with cheeky Joel giving him loads of grief. So yeah, I've got to go into this one full of optimism, full of positivity, and 3 points for Chelsea at the Goons.
Fingers crossed. Right, guys, thank you so much for joining us. I really enjoy these long episodes, and I hope you do too. If you do, please give this video a thumbs up, just so we can monitor it. And if you don't like it, obviously we won't do it anymore. Comment below about all the points raised as well. Really interested to hear what you think about it all. As always, see you soon. Go on, you Blues. Welcome to the Chelsea Fans Channel. In lieu of our massive match against Arsenal this weekend, I thought the only thing we could do to find out how Arsenal fans are feeling about this game is to invite my dear friend Poet onto the channel.